What's up? Let's see. All right. Let's start talking when I see people start to filter in. I also have the chat on my TV, so I don't have to keep touching my phone screen to say what's up. So, I don't know. I just thought with the impending arrival of Tom Brady in Tampa Bay, it might be fun to do a quick look back on the last couple of years. What has it been, 4 years or 5 years? I guess it's been 4 because Jameis was drafted in 2015. But I thought it'd be fun to look back on the last couple of years. Fun, air quotes. And just think about the high points and then some of the low points, because it's about 50-50. I'll start by saying this team, man, over the last 5 years with Jameis at the helm, is the most Jekyll and Hyde team in the NFL. Mostly Hyde, but there was some Jekyll in there. So let's start with the high points. So high points, probably that 5-game winning streak in 2016, where so Jameis, I think before that had one of his little strings where he was throwing like 2 or 3 interceptions a game, and then out of nowhere, like, him and the whole team just fucking caught on fire. They looked like world beaters. They beat the Chargers, the Saints. Who else? I think they beat the 49ers in that stretch. I don't remember a ton of specifics, but I do remember that was the most fun that I've had watching the Buccaneers probably ever. That was such a fun back end of that season. Ultimately, they lost to the Cowboys, and they ended up getting knocked out of playoff contention. At one point, though, they were the number one at NFC South. So they, I was just watching the game on NFL Game Pass, which, if you guys don't know, NFL Game Pass is free right now for basically the next month due to all the craziness going on. I guess they wanted to provide some entertainment in lieu of live sporting events. What was I going to say? So basically the Bucs have number one spot in the NFC South on the line. And normally in that situation, you'd be like, okay, well, they're going to fuck this up and somehow they're going to drop down to last place in the division or something stupid. Just something completely impossible. They would find a way to do it. But they beat the Saints at home, and I remember the game ended, I think Keith Tandy ended it by intercepting Drew Brees, and Raymond James was just fucking going insane, man. That was the most fun Bucs game I think I've ever watched, live at least, or in real time, on TV. And that was the most excited I've seen people at Raymond James, like, forever. But yeah, that 5-game winning streak was really fun. And Jameis didn't, like, carry the team, really. He was more of that was when he was trying to do his game manager type thing, and I think that's when he played the best of his Bucs career, was when he didn't try to be the Jameis Christ, and he tried to be more like, I guess, a Tom Brady type, where he just did enough to win and didn't do anything to really jeopardize the team, such as throwing interceptions on the first drive of the game multiple times. I guess some other high points would be that game. I've seen a lot of people mentioning this especially on like the Bucks subreddit and stuff. Um, that game in Philadelphia against the Eagles that kind of ended Chip Kelly's uh, NFL coaching career, basically, where he threw 5 touchdowns. I think that was his rookie season, but I could be wrong. Um, but yeah, that and then Doug Martin that game went insane too. He had that like 90 something yard run where he got stopped at the 1 yard line, like he did a lot that season. Um, if anyone else has any high points, feel free to mention them because I'm kind of running a little bit dry. I guess some individual plays would be stuff like, geez, I just lost like 90% of you guys watching. Individual plays like that play against the Bears where he was kind of under duress and they were already pretty backed up in their own end of the field, and he dropped back and he like did this fucking figure 8 turn through the end zone, and there was probably holding in the end zone that should have been called back for a safety, but let's not talk about that. But yeah, he made this. He probably ran like 200 fucking feet to get back to the line of scrimmage and evade the guys who were rushing him. And he threw the ball like probably not this far, but it seemed like 50 yards down the field. It was insane. That was one of the coolest plays I've ever seen. And then there was some other stuff like he made like those crazy runs where he was all I don't know, you know, he runs all like janky, and he would just weave between tacklers. And there was one specifically, I don't remember who it was against, but it looked like he got tackled at one point, but he was just hunched over on the defender on the ground, and he popped back up and ran like another 12 yards to get the first down. I don't know, stuff like that, man. Like he wasn't the smartest player, but he was definitely an entertainer, I guess. But yeah, funny stuff. I guess it's kind of like rose-colored glasses and stuff. And I was saying the other night that the team wasn't very fun to watch, but that wasn't always the case. Whether it be for good or bad reasons, the Bucks were entertaining with Jameis at quarterback. But yeah, that's pretty much all the high points I can think of. I'm sure I'm missing some stuff, but that's the most fun stuff that sticks out to me over the last 5 years or 4 years of the famous Jameis era, the crab legs saga. I know I said I wouldn't have to be getting in close because I got it up on my screen, but the chat disappears after a while. When Jameis fumbled the ball versus Oregon, yeah, I watched that game. That game was a little rough. And that game's a big reason people in hindsight pointed to, especially after his first rookie game, that we should have drafted Mariota. Jameis is really good where he can work on interceptions, potentially. Yeah, that's a big if, though, dude. Fun to see Breeze versus Brady. Yeah, it'll be fun. How do I feel about the NHL canceled? It sucks, man. I've been bored usually I come home from work and I watch the Lightning and then I make a video, but lately I've just been playing Xbox, I guess. So I'm kind of getting bored of Rocket League. When Fitzmagic was happening. So, yeah, I guess I would say that's one of the lower points of the famous Jameis era, at least from Jameis's point of view, was when he started to kind of lose the team. And I think that started with the thing I have in the thumbnail, the E to W, where he actually ate the W, because a lot of people don't remember. So that was in 2017, I think, where he ate his fucking fingers. The year before that, when the Bucks went 9-7, and they were like the de facto America's team since the Cowboys sucked ass, like they did for a couple of years there. Um, Jameis also gave an E to W speech. I think he gave a couple. And one of them was, I think that game I was talking about against the Saints, where they had the cameras on him in the pregame huddle, and he was saying, "I want to eat a W," and he was saying something about alphabet soup. So the E to W thing had already been established, but he didn't take it that far to actually eat a W. And I don't think he even did it like that. He did it like some gang sign thing and disjointed his fingers. But the year before, when he didn't actually eat it, everyone thought it was the coolest thing, and they were like interviewing him in the post game about his E to W speech and what that means and all this stuff. But the year later, it was because the Bucs sucked again. Everybody was clowning on him for it, and I guess also because he actually ate the W. He kind of took it a little bit too far. He never got why he stole crab legs. I don't know, dude. Crab legs are pretty good, even though I'm more of a lobster kind of person. But yeah, so I think with that, it kind of started the downfall of him in terms of how his teammates viewed him and stuff. And I guess on top of that, the performance issues where he was a liability and the defense was on the field for 50 minutes a game because he couldn't stop turning the ball over, whether it be throwing an interception or fumbling. So yeah, the Fitzmagic stuff. So he got suspended for the fueling up a Uber driver, and then Fitzmagic comes in, and he's the star of the show for the first 4 games of 2018. And Jameis's job was really in question at that point because Fitzpatrick was playing so well, to the point where even though he was playing like shit in against the Steelers, I think, dude, I don't remember what happened that game actually. Now that I think of it, I can't remember if Fitzpatrick started or Jameis did. But Jameis. I think Jameis started that game, and then in the second half, the Bucs were sucking so bad. Fitzmagic came back in and like almost fucking tied the game, and that was on. I think it was Monday Night Football. What job do you have? I work in retail, man. Do I think Antonio Brown will play for the Bucs? No, I don't think so. They've been saying he's not coming here in the news. So yeah, that was one of the low points, I think, at least from Jameis's point of view, where for a while his job was really in question because of Ryan Fitzpatrick. And it seemed like a lot of people were kind of pining for Fitzpatrick to be the starter full-time. Obviously that didn't happen. He's in Miami. Other low points. So let's start with the first game of Jameis's career. I think it was in the preseason against the Vikings in Minnesota when they were playing at that Minnesota College Stadium. So I don't remember too much about that game, but I remember it was very bad for Jameis. And I know he threw at least one interception, and he looked really, really shaky, which is fine because it's the first preseason game of his career and all that. But looking back in hindsight, it's kind of foretelling of what was to come, and a lot of people took it easy on him, obviously, considering the circumstances. But in hindsight, it kind of the writing was on the wall that Jameis was kind of going to be inconsistent for most of his career with the Bucs. Fast forward from that opening day, first regular season game of his career, I went to that game. That was the one thing I asked for as my birthday present was tickets to see the Bucs against the Titans, Winston versus Mariota, rookie debuts. Worst birthday gift I've ever asked for and gotten. Um, me and my uncle sat in our seats, and literally 2 minutes later, Tennessee was scoring. The Bucs defense was absolutely awful that year. And then the offense comes out in the field. Everyone's all excited. Jameis Winston. I don't remember. It was his first pass. I think it was his first pass was a pick six. And we were sitting on that end of the field in the nosebleeds, though. So we kind of had the straight shot prime viewing of it. And my uncle saw it happening as the play was developing that it was going to be a pick six. And sure enough, it was. So, first pass of Jameis Winston's NFL career and Bucs career is a pick six against the Titans. The rest of that game went about as equally poorly. Mariota balled out. Jameis Winston threw like 3 interceptions, I think. And then it was just like they didn't score until they were already down by like 30. And I remember one of the touchdowns they scored was a pass to Austin Seferian-Jenkins, one of the many casualties of the last few years, who, when they're down like 30-something to like 7 or something, high-stepped into the end zone. So kind of made an ass of himself, which Austin Seferian-Jenkins is one to do. So yeah, first game of Jameis's career, I was there to see it. I saw his first pass in his first pick six, coincidentally. Very, very, very bad game. I got shit talked by Titans fans on the way out of the stadium. So that was fun. The Titans went on to go like 3-13 that season, so they weren't worth a fuck. I think the Bucs went 6-10. Or was it 4-12? I think it was 6-10. But Lovie Smith got fired. Dirk Cutter. Am I wrong on that? I think Lovie was coaching Coach Jameis 2 years. Yeah, because Dirk Cutter coached. No, you coached him 1, and then Dirk Cutter got him for 2, and then Arians. So yeah, first year of Jameis's career, 6-10. Everyone thought Lovie was probably gonna stick around for whatever reason because he improved. Even though it's pretty hard not to improve from 2-14 to 6-10 isn't like a big deal really. So next year, Dirk Cutter's at the helm. 2016. Like I was saying, they go on a 5-game winning streak. That's all great. They end up dropping out of a playoff spot because they lose the Cowgirls. Pretty good year overall. Everyone's super excited for next year. 2017, Hard Knocks comes to Tampa because the Bucs are the hot team, all that stuff. Dirk Cutter's like one of the biggest up-and-coming coaches in the NFL. They got the big motherfucking stick speech from that game against the Chargers. Everyone was lapping that up. And then on Hard Knocks, they had these clowns called the Stick Carriers, who were basically a mix of regular fans, bandwagon fans, fair weather fans, who showed up to the training camp just to be on TV, and they had like a poster picture of Dirk Cutter in like a suit and all this bullshit with a frame on it, and they were carrying around and they were chanting stuff about stick carrying. And then everybody quickly soured on Dirk Cutter a couple weeks into that season when the Bucs are losing again. They look like shit. I might be misremembering, but I think Jameis got injured or something, and Fitzpatrick played a couple games, but I could be wrong on that. I don't remember a ton about that season. So yeah, they go 5-11 in 2018, and Dirk Cutter gets fired after 2 years. I thought that was a little rough. I didn't think he was that bad, but I kind of remember that he started to be kind of an asshole to everyone, like especially the media and stuff. And it seemed like he just didn't give a fuck. So it's whatever. Fast forward to 2019, the kind of the zenith of Jameis's Buccaneers career in terms of high points and low points. So he sets, again, I could be wrong. I think he set the passing record for yards in a season. I definitely know for a Bucs quarterback he did. And he also threw 30 touchdowns, or 30 plus touchdowns, and at the same time he threw 30 interceptions. So there's 16 games in a season. Jameis threw almost 2 interceptions a game, the most of which were in that London game against the Panthers, which was just fucking terrible. And for the most part, the Bucs had a pretty shit year. They started really, really slow. I think they reeled off like 4 wins in a row pretty late into the season, and then they just crumbled again. But overall, just a really bad year. There were some exciting moments, but for the most part, it was game starts, Bucs get the ball, couple plays into the game, if not the first play, Jameis puts it in the other team's hands. They go and score. The Bucs are down 2 minutes in the game, whatever. So they were just constantly behind the 8 ball, and it was pretty much always on Jameis. So he kind of made it easy for people to, I don't know if you would say scapegoat, because it's kind of like he deserves the responsibility for that, but to place the blame on him, I guess. And people did, obviously, and now he's gone. Yeah, I don't know. I guess some side notes would be the casualties of the Jameis Winston era. I definitely wouldn't say as a direct result of things he did, but just people who came and went, or in some cases had their tenure with the Bucs cut short as a result of certain things with Jameis. What's up, Joel? I like the profile picture, man. So let's go down the list. Austin Seferian-Jenkins, we already covered. That dude, it was just because he's a dumbass, DUI, all that stuff. Basically cancer personality. Lovie Smith, I think Lovie signed his own, I guess, dug his own grave is what I was going to say. Lovie's at, last time I checked, Illinois, and they're pretty terrible. Dirk Cutter, number 3. I think Jameis deserves a lot of blame for that, whether it be his play on the field or putting the team in a situation where they're without their starting quarterback for a couple of weeks to start the year because he made some stupid decision again. Doug Martin. Doug Martin obviously was here before Jameis. And I don't think Jameis obviously had anything to do with him being let go. But he's another one that kind of got phased out over the last couple of years. Who else? I think that's it. Actually, there's a lot, though. Gerald McCoy. I'm having a hard time thinking, man. But, yeah, a lot of faces came and went over the last few years at a very rapid pace. There was some guys after that season where Vernon Hargraves, Roberto Aguayo, just a lot. The turnover was crazy, and I think a lot of that was the pace at which coaching staffs were being turned over, which has been a common theme for a while with the Bucs. What was I gonna say? Oh, so after the Bucks went 9-7, they kind of became the um, like a hot spot for free agents. So they were able to get more big ticket name guys like Deshaun Jackson, who's another one that I think would still be here if not for the play of Jameis. Jameis could never hit that dude on a deep ball, man. So he's another one. But there was some guys who kind of got brought in because the team had a more appeal in free agency. Like, I can't remember the dude's fucking name. Like Chris something. He's a defensive tackle who they signed like kind of in a package type thing with Deshaun Jackson from the Redskins. And that dude was just complete garbage. He was being a clown and stuff on Hard Knocks, and everybody thought that was funny. But a couple weeks into the season, he played like shit, and he quit on the team, and everybody soured on him. Chris Baker, yeah, that dude was a dickhead. But yeah, outside of not a lot of Charles Sims. I don't really know what happened with Charles Sims. He just kind of disappeared. He played well for a while there, but then he just vanished. I don't know what happened, man. I guess his contract is up, and they just decided not to keep him around. But I thought he was a really good pass catching running back. Brent Grimes, yeah, he was more of a stopgap kind of guy. I think he wasn't ever really meant to be a permanent solution at corner. And then I guess some more random ones would be guys like Tim Jennings, like that dude. I've said it before, but they were trying to make it out to be some big free agency signing when they signed the dude like halfway into preseason, or it was like the last week of preseason, and Jason White was trying to make it seem like it was this big marquee name. The dude was fucking way over the hill. And he played like shit, and he got fucking roasted every single play that he was targeted, or the receiver that he was covering was targeted. And that was one of those, one of Lovey's guys, like the Chris Conte types, where they're kind of okay, but there's way better options they could get. But Lovey insisted on bringing those guys in because they played for him in Chicago fucking 20 years ago or whatever bullshit. So yeah, I think that was more of a Lovey thing than a Jason White thing. But yeah, like I said, just a lot of rapid turnover the last couple of years. But on the other hand, there's been some consistent guys like Albert Hainsworth. Some more consistent guys like Mike Evans, who again was drafted the year before Jameis, and he survived a year of Josh McCown, and I think that was actually one of the best years of his career. And then who else? I guess Chris Godwin's only been here 2 years, right? But he balled out even with Jameis. Cameron Brate has been pretty consistently a consistent contributor, even at times last year, even though I think Bruce Arians' offense didn't really utilize a tight end in a pass-catching role. He still had some notable games. Brady's going to love Brady. Yeah, I think so too, man. I saw... I was watching on the NFL app, there was all these little snippets of media guys talking about the pieces on offense the Bucs have, and something one of them said that I thought was like really stupid was that they were talking about how the Bucs have good receivers like at wide receiver, but they said that they need a pass catching tight end, and I was just thinking, did you not watch the Bucs in 2016 or whatever when Cameron Brate was just like playing out of his mind, and he almost had like a touchdown every other game, it seemed like. I think Cameron Brate's like And he even does the Gronk spike, man. So I'm sure Tom Brady's gonna love him. Is Braid a free agent? I'm not sure. I haven't heard anything about that. I don't think he is a free agent. Heard the Bucks are interested in Dion Lewis. Yeah, someone mentioned that the other night when I did the little stream about how they were signing Brady. Which, by the way, dude, I'm kind of like this eternal pessimist, like I think most Bucks fans are, but in the back of my head, I just keep thinking of what if this dude doesn't sign, man? Because if something can go wrong, usually it will with the Bucks. But I'm trying to stay positive. It's one of the little last few things I have to hold on to right now. Brady's been one of the most consistent pass catchers. Yeah, man, that's what I think. That's why I don't get how a dude who gets paid big money to talk about football doesn't recognize that. But yeah, he was saying they should draft a pass-catching tight end. I have a bad feeling too with Brady. Yeah, man. I don't know. The last I heard was he had they had him do a physical in New York today. But yeah, I think of like guys like Bo Jackson and stuff, where that's a very unique circumstance where very unique circumstance I would say would be Bo Jackson, where if they drafted him, he said he was gonna play baseball or whatever. But still, it's something that I think of in the back of my mind is stupid stuff like that's happened. Probably Brady's old and playing for 1 or 2 years when he retires, and Winston not there. We have to go back and draft a quarterback. Yeah, that's what I was saying the other night when I did a little stream about it. I think he's just gonna be here a couple years and give them time to be in a spot where there's a really good quarterback they can draft. But obviously, for that to be possible, they'll either have to have a really bad losing season at some point again, or they will have to trade up to a spot where they can draft a quarterback. You want Winston to stay? I think he wants to play, man. I think he's a lot more. He's a very competitive player, which sounds kind of cliche, but I think he really is. I think he thinks he can start somewhere, and he's going to try to do that before he settles for a backup spot. I don't know where he would be able to start. Maybe somewhere. I can't think of too many teams that are without a quarterback, but I can think of some that have a really young quarterback who maybe wouldn't mind having a few more down years, like Washington and the Giants and stuff like that, who have really young quarterbacks. But I think that I don't see why those teams would want to pay Jameis Winston $30 million to lose 10 games a season when they could have a guy in a rookie deal do it for him. You saw a tweet, Washington was interested, but they said he would be good backup. Yeah, I think he would start over a guy like Dwayne Haskins. But again, I don't think Washington's too worried about winning games. And if Dan Snyder can save $29 million, he'll probably save $29 million and just have Dwayne Haskins get fucking drilled in the ass by defensive linemen. But, yeah, I kind of went off the rails a little bit there. But, yeah, I guess if you guys, whoever's in here, if you didn't hear me at the beginning or if you haven't seen it or whatever anywhere, NFL Game Pass they say it's free, but when I go to on the NFL app on my phone, it says it's 99 cents. I mean, it's almost free. And it says it expires. The subscription expires on May 31st. So basically, for 2 months, NFL Game Pass is free. They have full games where you can watch like completely unedited, beginning to end. Go back to 2011. I haven't tried to watch any of the games from 2011, outside of one where I tried to watch the condensed game for it, which is like the chopped up, edited down to half an hour, where it's only the plays and no stoppages, and that didn't work. So I'm hoping maybe that you can still watch the full games from as far back as then. But anyway, I was watching some games from that 2016 season where they had that 5-game winning streak, and Mike Smith kind of bought himself an extra year at defensive coordinator, though I'm sure Dirk Cutter wouldn't fire the guy anyway. And I was watching that game against the Saints, and that's kind of what prompted me to do this little stream looking back on this stuff, was watching that again, because I remembered watching that live and making the video, making the Gene Deckeroff highlight video, which I don't think is on my channel anymore after I got those copyright strikes a couple of years ago. But that was an insane game. That was a really fun season. I know for a lot of teams, fans, 9-7 is a down year. If you're a Packers fan or a Patriots fan or a team like that, Seahawks, 9-7 is a disappointment. But I think it says a lot about how it's been to be a fan of this team for the last however many years, that 9-7 is the bright spot. But I'm not embarrassed or anything to say that that was a fun season, and that I had a lot of hope going into the next year and going into the end of that season that they were going to be able to make the playoffs. And I remember the excitement among my family and stuff, even people who don't watch football, that the Bucs were good that year. That was a really fun season to be a part of and make the videos about it, and see how excited people were around Tampa Bay. Being a Bucs fan makes you humble. Yeah, man. People say that a lot. I agree. So you've been a fan 19 years. I don't talk about it a lot, but I only really seriously started watching sports in like 2013. So about 7 years. When I was in high school, I was I don't know, I've always been like big into video games and stuff, so I would always just play video games growing up, and I never really got too big into sports, and I think a lot of it's because I wasn't good at sports myself. But ever since I finished high school, I had a lot more free time and stuff. I mean, I was alive for the Super Bowl, and I remember watching it, but I wasn't like actively. I was only, so that was 2003, so I was probably around 8 years old. So I was more interested in skateboarding and playing Manhunt with my friends than I was sitting inside on the weekend and watching football at that time. But I did watch the Super Bowl, and I did have an All-Star jersey and all that. But I wasn't like a diehard football fan or anything, or baseball or hockey or anything like that. But I did get to experience it. But 2013 was when I got like hardcore into sports after I finished high school. I had a lot of free time in college because I was doing a lot of online stuff with SPC, so I basically like did nothing all day except sit indoors. I had the weekends off, all that stuff. So I would just watch. I watched all the Lightning games every night, even when I was on the West Coast. I would stay up until 1 in the morning when I had class at 7 a.m. the next day. For the on-campus stuff I did have. I watched baseball, which for a little while, baseball is pretty hard to get into because it's not super exciting as a spectator sport, especially when it's the regular season. There's not a ton of excitement at Tropicana Field, stuff like that. But yeah, and then I watched the Bucks every game. The first full season of Bucks football I watched beginning to end was 2014, Lovey's first year. And that was some of the worst entertainment I've ever experienced. That was the first year with the alarm clock number jerseys. And the only 2 games the Bucks won were in Pittsburgh, which I didn't know too much about it at the time, but it was their first win in Pittsburgh, like, ever, I guess. And I remember the game-winning touchdown was, so Josh McCown was injured and Mike Glennon was playing, and this was during the Mike Glennon is the second coming of Christ period of time that was pretty brief. And Mike Glennon threw the game-winning touchdown to Vincent Jackson. And I remember Vincent Jackson tried to spike the ball, but he, like, fucking lost the ball and, like, spiked air or whatever. It was weird. But I thought that was funny. But that was a fun game. So that's win number 1 of the season. Or was that win number 2? I think the first win may have been at Washington when RG3 was still playing. I can't remember which one of those was the first of the win of that season. But yeah, the other one was Josh McCown starting, and I remember, okay, it's Pittsburgh's first. And I remember Mike Evans had a really good game that day, and that was really fun to watch. That was kind of Mike Evans' I guess coming out party as an NFL receiver. You were hyped for Lovey. I didn't know a lot about football at the time, because like I said, I just got hardcore into watching it full time, so I didn't really know much about what to think. But I did know pretty quickly that the Bucks were going to be pretty bad that year, mainly because even to my untrained eye, Josh McCown was a very unimpressive quarterback, and it was clear that he was Lovey's guy and that he was going to be starting no matter what. 2015 against Dallas, that was the game where Jameis, like, he had he had a rushing touchdown at the end of the game or whatever, right? And he fumbled into the end zone, but they called it back for, like, it was like a personal foul or something like that against the guy who hit him. And then I think he scored again on a bootleg to the opposite side. Like, the first one he rolled out to the left and he dove and somebody hit him in the head or something. He fumbled, but they called it back. And then the second one he rolled out to the right and he scored. Something like that. I think that was the game, and I think Tony Romo was injured, maybe. And like it was like Matt Castle starting or something weird like that for the Cowboys. Correct me if I'm wrong. And then, yeah, I think Romo... when wasn't Romo injured? But yeah, thinking back to 2014, though, I remember that off season after the season ended when people were like talking about, a lot of people wanted Jameis, and then there was this other camp of people who wanted them to have Mike Glennon start because they thought he hadn't gotten like a fair shake or whatever yet. And I was kind of in that camp because I watched all of FSU's games and I saw, not to sound like a know-it-all or anything, but I saw how in the beginning of every game, basically every first half of the game, Jameis would throw a bunch of interceptions or put the team in like a hole, and then they would just like he would just ball out in the second half and they'd come back and win. But 90% of those games were against like fucking, just like jobber teams like the Citadel and shit like that. Even though I don't think they played the Citadel, but you know what I mean. Just like really cupcake teams, just like really fucking D tier ACC schools and shit. And I was excited about Jameis because he was an exciting player in college, but I was kind of like the more boring, safe option would have been Mike Glennon. Looking back, I don't think it would have really mattered all that much. I think that, if anything, the Bucs would have been more boring with Mike Glennon at quarterback. I don't know. I don't think he's like a super good quarterback, but I think he's okay. Winston been having eye problems for a while when he's at Florida State. Yeah, but I think he got a LASIK or something like that. Glennon was stiff. Yeah, I guess he's more of a mediocre pocket passer than anything. But yeah, I remember, namely my uncle, who I watched a lot of games with and stuff, and we always talk about Bucs football. Asked if I wanted them to draft Jameis or Mariota or whatever, and I said I think they should just let Glennon play again another year since he hadn't started like a full season yet. But that was kind of foolish of me, but I don't know. Just something I remember from that year. But yeah, I also remember a lot of like a nagging thing people would always go back to was the Bucs never signed a quarterback who they drafted to a second contract, and I thought for the first like 2 years of Jameis being here that just stop talking about it. I think there's no way he doesn't sign a second contract, and like I thought there was no way Jameis wasn't going to be the quarterback of this team for the next 10 years or whatever, because obviously he's a number one pick and he showed so much promise and all that. But obviously the 30 interceptions and the off the field problems, though they were less frequent in the NFL, still enough of an issue where he missed games and stuff. I think it kind of outweighed the upside that the team saw in him, I guess, and that we saw in him. And going forward, I think, like I said in the last stream, I think the Tom Brady thing's it's going to be really fun for us as fans for a couple of years. But obviously it's not a super long-term thing. So sooner or later, something's going to change at quarterback, but for the time being, we kind of have a quick fix, and I think as far as quick fixes go, Tom Brady is the best quick fix you can ask for. And I think if you would have asked most people a year ago after the Patriots won their fucking 6th Super Bowl if they would want Tom Brady or Jameis Winston at quarterback, most people would say Tom Brady. But he kind of had a down year, so to say, and the Patriots had a down year, so people kind of aren't as excited about it. But he's a year older, like, it's not a huge deal, man. Not a lot has changed. Yeah, the defensive issues, but there's only so much the defense can do when they're on the field as much as they are. And I think overall the Bucks defense was much improved last season, and still the record had nothing to show for it. And I think a lot of that falls on the turnovers, which at the same time, some of the position players like OJ Howard had problems turning the ball over as well. But the vast majority of it was interceptions and fumbles by Jameis. Okay with not being long term like DA. I wanted another trophy. Yeah, and in the same vein as that, Bruce Arians is a very short term thing too. So it's almost like, if anything, the Bucks staggered the two things a year apart. If last year, if they bring in Bruce Arians and at the same time they bring in Tom Brady, everyone's probably super excited about it. But because they brought in Bruce Arians and he kind of had a wishy-washy first season for a myriad of reasons that I think not a ton of him fall on his shoulders, people aren't as excited about it. But if he and everyone, his signing was kind of prefaced with the notion that it was going to be short term and he's just coming back because he wants to win now and all that, and that he's an older guy, which doesn't really matter as much in a coaching position as a playing position. But he's an older guy who probably isn't going to put up with too many losing seasons. And I kind of think that Tom Brady's in the same boat. And they probably have a similar mindset where they want to win now and not hang around for multiple losing seasons because they won't really have anything to gain from that. So I think that'll kind of be beneficial. Yeah, well, Pete Carroll's older than him, but at the same time, if you looked at them side by side, you would think that Bruce Arians is older. I think a lot of that is, and I say this as someone who knows from experience, obviously, is that he's kind of a heavier set guy. So that's probably, he hasn't aged as well as Pete Carroll, who looks like fucking, I don't know how old he is, but he looks like he's in his 40s, basically. He's in such good shape. I think another part of it is he has experience working with college players who probably he's used to them keeping him on his toes and being obnoxious and shit. So he's the oldest coach in the league. See, I wouldn't have thought that. He doesn't look very old, and he doesn't really act his age. He's a very youthful kind of guy, I guess. I never would have thought he's the oldest coach in the league. I would have thought, if anything, I would have thought like Belichick or Bruce Arians was the oldest guy in the league. Whereas Bruce Arians is more of, at least in the public eye, a more like a somber kind of guy, I guess. Who isn't like super like boisterous on the sidelines and stuff. At least from he's not like super excitable. Like he'll get pissed off and stuff. And that's really the only time you see him get super excited is when he's like screaming at a ref or something like that, you know, and he gets pretty red in the face. But yeah, that's basically my little all over the place look back on the last couple of seasons, I guess. It was a very up and down 4 years, I think. 3 coaches in 4 years. Or I guess 5 years if you want to count the first year of Lovey's tenure. 3 coaches, I guess 4 quarterbacks in total played for the Bucks. If you count McCown, Glennon, Jameis, and Fitzmagic, and Yeah, I don't know, man. It was there was some fun moments, but I think they were greatly outweighed by the bad ones, to say the least, man. Yeah, the coordinators is the big one. You got Wesley Frazier, and then Mike Smith, and now Todd Bowles. But I think Todd Bowles is pretty good as a defensive coordinator. And I don't know what Wesley Frazier is like an anomaly. He was complete trash with the Bucks, and now I think last year the Vikings defense was pretty fucking good, weren't they? But they're kind of known for their defense. But yeah, I remember watching some Vikings games, and the commentators were constantly singing Wesley Frazier's praises. I don't know what people see in that dude. Maybe it was Lovey pulling the strings. But yeah, again, that's kind of my little recap. Certain things that are gonna kind of feel weird to let go of, I guess, over the last couple of years, but at the same time, I'm really excited about Tom Brady being the quarterback of the Bucks. It's not something I think anybody would have thought was realistic. It's kind of like the closest thing I can compare it to is leading up to the election a couple of years ago, where everyone thought the Donald Trump stuff was just a big meme, and it was never going to be, realistic that Donald Trump is the president of the United States. Well, that's kind of, to a lesser degree, what I think a lot of people were doing with Tom Brady and the Bucks, where it's kind of like the Bucks are this meme team, and Tom Brady's this golden god of a quarterback who people jokingly said, like, what if Tom Brady came to the Bucks and stuff, but nobody ever in their wildest imagination would have thought that it would be even close to reality, and that he was just going to stay in New England. I thought the same fucking thing, dude, until like 3 days ago or however long it's been. And I'm still, like I said, in the back of my mind, dude, it's a little bit that fucking voice there saying this motherfucker isn't going to sign or whatever, he's going to retire or something. But right now, as it stands, and the thing that's giving me the most confidence is the I guess, willingness of Bucks players to talk about Tom Brady being signing or whatever. Like you see interviews with guys like Shaq Barrett and stuff where they talk about like it's a done deal. I guess their confidence in it kind of reassures me a little bit. So, yeah, maybe I'll just watch more interviews about Bucks players talking about Tom Brady being the new quarterback and stuff. That'll make me feel a little bit better about our odds. But yeah, it's crazy. It's I haven't been out too much the last 2 days, and the last time I worked, it wasn't really a thing yet. But stuff like the season tickets like being in like super high demand now and stuff makes it seem more real, and it sucks that this is what it took for people to care about the Bucks more, but at the same time I know that a lot of people, like including me, it's really hard to devote your time, your free time, to watching something that is very frustrating, like a losing team like the Bucks. So I can't really blame people for not being super interested until this point, at least not interested enough to spend hundreds if not thousands of dollars on tickets. Are tickets on sale right now already, man? Because I don't know. last season, I worked every single Sunday. Basically, ever since I got this job a year ago, I've worked every single Saturday and Sunday, man. But I'm gonna try to get a Sunday off and go to a game. I haven't been to a game since 2017, I think, and that was a Thursday night football game against the Falcons where the Bucks got their shit kicked in. Actually, that was 2016, I think. I think it was really early in that season. Yeah, but our single game tickets on sale. Cause yeah, I wanna see a game, cause I haven't seen one in a while, and I think now is, I've been to 2 games that I can remember. I think I maybe went to a game as a kid, but 2 games in the last few years. Both of them were terrible losses. My uncle's been to like a dozen games. He tells me he's never seen the Bucks win in person. So I don't want to jinx anything, but I think this is probably my best chance to see a win in person. So I don't know. I got to get a day off and get some tickets, but I know they're going to be more expensive than ever. Like the last time I went to a game, it was like $45 or $50 for some. They were nosebleed seats at the 50-yard line. So yeah, I'm sure it'll be much more expensive than that. And don't be surprised if you see a lot of Patriots Tom Brady jerseys in the stands that are just the mass holes who live down here who want to see Tom Brady play. Which, I mean, if they want to spend money, they can do it however they want. I'm sure the Glazers don't mind. Yeah, I'm not big on. I've never really gone to a tailgate, and I don't know if I have to deal with the traffic and pay for parking and all that. I'd want to be able to see the game. Even though I will say I think the NFL is one of the worst in-game spectators or in-person spectator sports. Man, it's just so. The commercial breaks are bad when you're at home. But just having to sit there and have nothing going on for minutes at a time, every like 30 seconds of game action, and you hear the same fucking stupid Fox Sports cutaway music every other minute, that shit drives me insane. That's some of the worst, one of the worst products, I guess, in sports is the NFL in terms of their production. Because it's just so tailored around advertising. Like, you go to a baseball game, you can't even tell because they do the ads in the middle innings, obviously. When the pitchers are warming up and all that and the players are coming on the field. It's seamless. And then the NHL, they only have 3 commercial breaks for every 20 minutes of play. So, those are fine in person. I love going to baseball games and hockey games because it's even though the ball's a lot smaller or the puck's a lot smaller, it's kind of harder to track it, especially if you're in like the outfield. It's hard to see where the pitches are located and stuff. At least I don't have to sit around for fucking 2 hours just baking in the sun with we're playing video of some kid dancing, fucking doing Fortnite dances on the scoreboard because we're at a commercial break. Bucks subreddit was full of Patriots fans saying they were following Brady down. I'm sure there'll still be Patriots fans, though, unless they're bad now. I would probably go to a Lightning game over a Bucks game, even if the Lightning were worse. If I had to do one or the other, and I had no choice to not do either, I would go to the Lightning game for a couple of reasons. Even though I think the Bucks game would be, obviously there's only 16 of them in a year, so it's more of an event. than the 40 that you have of Lightning games. But a couple of reasons. Air conditioning is the biggest one. Um, Not having the fucking sun beating down on my goddamn skull for 4 hours is the other one. And then, like I said, the flow of the play is a lot better, so it's easier to stay entertained than the choppy 30 seconds of play stoppage, TV timeout, you know, stuff like that. So yeah, I would go to Lightning game over a Bucks game just because of the production value, I guess, of the NHL over the NFL. Fans show up at Lightning games. They didn't a couple of years ago when they were bad, dude. So if the team's bad, nobody's gonna show up, no matter what sport it is in Tampa Bay and most cities. So it's not really saying a ton. And I think for how bad the Bucks have been for a long time now, it's impressive that as many people show up to bake in the fucking sun and watch losing football do as what we see at Raymond James, man. They're lucky it hasn't been 50% empty for the last 15 years. I think for how bad the team's been, it's pretty impressive how many people are still, showing up to games. And even on top of that, I see a lot of Bucks fans out in public, so I think it's pretty impressive that how loyal Bucks fans have been despite how bad the team's been. And it's not like people have been super excited or anything about it, the team, but people still, I don't think we have a ton of, fair weather fans or anything. I think people, even if they're not going to the games, people still watch, And that's what I do because I work full time and I don't have a ton of money, and I can't I'll have a fucking heat stroke if I'm out in the sun 8 weeks in the summer, dude, for 4 hours. And I get all the close-ups and shit on TV, dude. Just sitting in the seats I can afford where I'm 300 feet away and 100 feet up in the air and shit. And then I gotta pay $40 to park at some fucking random-ass parking lot behind a Dollar General or something, It's just not super convenient to go to a game. Whereas if you go to a Rays game or a Lightning game, you can park for $5 and it's just more convenient and it's air conditioned. Yeah, man, I hear a lot of good stuff about the What the Buck tailgate. I think if I did go to it, I would go to the game too, though. I drink a little bit, but not a lot. And going back to the heat thing, I don't know if I'd want to get plastered and then be in 100-degree weather for 4 hours after that. But the food would be nice. And I'd probably get like diarrhea and miss half the game. But yeah, I finally managed to go an hour on one of these stupid streams, man. And I know I repeated myself a lot, but I think for the most part it was pretty cool. It's pretty cool talking to you guys about everything and reminiscing about the mostly pathetic last 4 or 5 years of watching the Bucks. Yeah, it was fun. I gotta figure out a formula to draw in some more viewers in a live stream, or I might just start. I might do a little like a vlog style video or something when I want to talk about stuff instead of doing it live, because it just doesn't. I don't get a ton of interaction. But I do appreciate those of you who do hang out and chat and stuff, even though I only got 3 people and stuff, you know. Am I on Discord? Yeah, I mostly am in the the Tampa Bay Lightning Discord. That's where I spend most of the time on there. And my username is my YouTube name. I don't know what number it is though, but I'm at one of the they have like the different ranks on there, and I think I'm in like one of the top 3 rank categories on the that little list they have on the right side. But yeah, I'm mostly on there. I don't use Discord a lot. Usually I use that the Lightning one to talk to people during the games and stuff. But yeah. 8424. You can search for people on Discord by just putting that number, right? You don't have to put the username. You can just put pound 8424. If you search Discord on the Lightning subreddit, I think it comes up on there. Or I don't know how you search for servers on Discord, but I think it's r/Tampa Bay Lightning or something like that. And the logo is the lightning icon logo, but with a pause sign over it because the season is paused. But yeah, there's some cool people on there, and they got a lot of different channels and stuff that make it kind of a multi-purpose server. Yeah, Google. That's what I was gonna say, but I don't really look stuff up too much for Discord servers, so I didn't know if it would come up or not. But yeah, they have channels where you can talk about like other sports and stuff. So people usually talk about the Bucks in there, and the Rays and stuff. Even though the Rays and the Bucks have their own Discord servers, which I'm a member of, but I don't use them very much. But yeah, they have a game thread one where you can chat like the Reddit game thread, but obviously it scrolls for you and you don't have to refresh it. And then like a general channel, and then an off-topic one called The Bench that I post like random pictures and stuff about stuff that goes on throughout my day. So yeah, that's the server I usually hang out in and periodically communicate with other individuals on. But yeah, I think I'm gonna wrap it up, guys. Thanks to anyone and everyone who did hang out and chat. Especially you, Joel, and Perk Clover. You guys are pretty active, man. But yeah, I'm probably gonna go to sleep soon and get ready for work in the morning. So I got a fun weekend of working 30 hours in 3 days. Yeah, I miss hockey too, dude. I miss stuff being normal. Like, I haven't really been affected by the virus because I'm young and all that, but I think I don't want to say it's silly, but I haven't witnessed things firsthand, so I guess I haven't really had the firsthand shock or whatever of seeing the effects of it. So, but I don't know. I know stuff. It's kind of thrown a wrench in my routine of watching hockey and stuff every night and making videos and stuff. Yeah, I watch a lot of Twitch too. I watch, as evidenced by some of the stupid shit I put in my videos, PVC, and I watch a little bit of D Omega LC, and my favorite streamer on Twitch is Jesse. who is a former Rocket League pro player. Jessie. He's my favorite streamer. And mostly because he slams his desk and his chat spams KEKW a lot. And he's got a lot of fun GIF emotes, like dancing ones and stuff that he made himself or his viewers made. Yeah, man, the unluckiest man in Rocket League, dude. He's funny. He's so funny. But even when I'm working and stuff, I'll just put Jesse on my phone. But yeah, XQC Jesse. That's basically it. I also watched a little bit of Kit Boga, who does scam baiting. That's the thing I like about Twitch, though. It's like so varied. Like you can find anything that you want to watch on there, even if you don't like games or anything. Like there's something you can watch on there. I also been watching a lot of the ESL Counter-Strike tournaments that have been going on. And I've never played. I played Counter-Strike Source on the fucking original Xbox, and that's it. But it's pretty easy to follow what's going on because it's just a shooter, and it's got one fucking game mode that they play. But yeah, CSGO tournaments are pretty fun. My favorite esport to watch is RLCS, just because I play Rocket League, and it's so, even if you don't play Rocket League, like people say this a lot, I think it's so easy to follow what's happening because most people have watched something like soccer or hockey before, and it's basically that, except cars are hitting the ball instead of people. So I think that's probably the most accessible esport to watch outside of like just shooters. But even people who have never played a video game, they can watch Rocket League and probably be entertained because it looks simple. Like it doesn't look like fucking League of Legends where there's just a bunch of explosions and colors and stuff on the screen. It's just put the ball in the net. Obviously more advanced shit like flip resets and double touches and air dribbling and all that kind of stuff is lost to the untrained eye, but it's still like when exciting things happen or when the commentators get excited, it's easy to translate that for someone who's watched any kind of sport before. So I think that's a big appeal of RLCS and RLRS. I just wish there was more tournament play and stuff, and like scheduled events for Rocket League, or at least more big stuff, because there's small things like there's small stuff like the Astro tournaments, and like Johnny Boy did the European Invitational thing he's doing every couple of days, but it's mostly like really small tournaments outside of RLCS and RLRS and CRL. But still, it's enough to where like during the season you can watch CRL midweek, even though it's kind of like shitty, and then you can watch RLRS on nearing the weekend and the RLCS over the weekend. So it's enough to keep me entertained. And even when there are sports on, I'll sometimes watch that over sports. Like proper sports. Yeah, Fireburner, dude. People were saying NRG and C9 should do or no, what was it? NRG and C9 should do Fireburner versus Sizz. Like just a 1v1, and then the rest of the guys are just not playing. That would be fucking cool. I also think it's funny that I guess Rocket League is an old enough game where there can be like the old school kind of guys who don't play anymore, like Jesse, even though he's a sub for Reciprocity, and Fireburner and Sizz and guys like that. And just like the legacy kind of players who retired, which I think again is kind of funny to retire from video games, even though I get you played at a very high level. But yeah, I think it's kind of funny. At the same time, it's cool. That's probably the thing I devote most of my viewing time of like TV and stuff to outside of sports is Rocket League. Even though I'm hard stuck Diamond 3 right now to be precise. I just climbed back to Diamond 3. But yeah, I think I talked long enough, man. But thanks for hanging out, everyone. My 2 viewers I got left. Probably one is me, and then the other's my boy Joel here. If you see me in the Lightning Discord, sometimes say what's up, Joel. And I don't know if you play Rocket League at all or anything. I've had some people add me to play Rocket League, but most just flake out. But if you ever want to play Rocket League, hit me up on if you see me on the Lightning Discord. I play on Xbox. But other than that, thanks for hanging out, everybody. 2 people left. I hope everyone has a good night. And see you later. See you, Joel. Peace, guys.